Hello, 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 and welcome to WR PC Tier 3, and it is time for round 3 of season number 21, if I'm correct. If I'm remembering completely correctly, because I've done too many seasons of this. But other than that, I would like to say hello to my co-com tonight, Omi. How are you doing, my good friend?
Hello Epic, doing very well, season 21 indeed, 2 races complete this season, and now looking ahead to round 3, it's going to be a very interesting contest, always is, so looking forward to see what this journey is going to take us around this circuit today.
Yeah, so am I, and the circuit it is for this week. It is time for Spa-Francorchamps. It is 7.004 kilometers, 4.352 miles, 19 turns, 2 DR zones down the pit straight and down the Kemmel straight. Of course, huge amounts of elevation between turn 3 and turn 4. That's the biggest amount of elevation on this track. Also, calendar, we've gone through Australia and Spain. And this week, of course, we come to Belgium. Only round 3 out of 10. So there's still another 7 races after this. So a lot of action to come for the rest of the season. But from sort of this track's history, of course, are you feeling like tonight's going to be full of action and maybe bring some different skills out of drivers from what they've had to use in the previous 2 races?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely gonna challenge the drivers. I think it is fair to say from what they've had to deal with across the opening 2 rounds. So it's gonna be fascinating to see how it is going to play out as we get into a qualifying session with the rain's falling. So Epic, we're just gonna completely reword absolutely everything because it's taken to another level with the weather that they've got.
Very much, I do agree. But just before we get into qualifying, well, the drivers sort out setups and things like that, let's have a quick look at the standings. As you can see, it is Luca Ripassa who has had an incredible start to his campaign, a P1 and P2 finish, bringing himself to 43 points, now 18 points ahead of second in the championship, Gabor Santos. Then it is Lewis Bloor in third, then Lucas Weisner in fourth, Tomasz Kokiny in fifth, with then Cameron Dowds in sixth, Ryan Mola in seventh, Leo Lund in eighth, Ryan Grob in 9th, Thomas Lang in 10th in the championship. But the interesting one in all of that is, of course, Luca Ripassa, who's, exceeding expectations to start off this season.
Yeah, he really is. He has put in a incredible campaign, which has been really interesting to see. A second place to start the season, then a victory when it came to Barcelona. So he's been doing very well, but it's all about continuing that momentum as he tries to take the championship this season.
Yeah, very much. So let's now get into the track itself, if my screen would like to load at any point in the near future. And it finally has. As you can see, it is just intermediate rain. Florian has already had a bit of... he's gone off just very slightly, as you saw at the top of the hill, through turn 5 and 6. Interesting night, though, isn't it? It's quite heavy rain for intermediates. As you could see on board, it is decently heavy rain. So, are you feeling like this could be an interesting... of course, it spices up everything, but do you think this might bring out a new sort of fastest driver, or do you think we're still going to see roughly the same grid order we've seen in the previous 2 races?
I think when it comes to the races, it's always going to be very competitive. But in terms of qualifying, we have not seen Luca Ripassa take a pole. The races he's been the driver to beat so far this season. Our opening 2 poles went to Diego Zorzo and Wojciech Steg as well. So those 2 started the season with a pole. So I think qualifyings have already been quite wide open. So it's mostly going to be about trying to nail the lap around this circuit, which, with it being over 7 kilometers, it means, Epic, that the drivers have a lot to nail around this place, especially that middle sector. So it's quite challenging for these drivers. So it could definitely be unpredictable. And even those drivers who we would expect to be quick in the dry could possibly struggle when it comes to the wet.
Very much, I do agree. And as we can see, Florian Fanzelter is the first out on a lap here tonight as he heads up through El Rouge and Radion. Very clean there from the Sauber driver. As you can now see, not opening the rear wing, I should really say, in these wet conditions, thank God. As now he comes towards the end of the first sector. There's a bit of a yellow flag through the final corners. Oh, you can see sliding there from Florian, struggling to get the car turned in. Of course, I don't think many drivers expected it to be wet conditions here tonight. And heading downhill now into turn number 8. Pretty solid from himself. Now into the corner with no name. Turn number 9. And it's a pretty solid corner there. He misses the apex just slightly, but it's going to be good enough for now. Just trying to get in this first banker lap now through Podium, throwing the car through. Very, very, looking pretty decent from Florian. Very, very strong through there. Now as he comes down towards turn 12 and turn 13. Looking very nice. He's really trying to hit that apex, trying to get that exit going well. And he has. Bit of sliding. Of course, going to lose him a little bit of time. But of course, it is just the first run. So it's not all win or lose here just yet in qualifying. But of course, I mean, if he spins and crashes, then it really is. But let's see. He's only got, realistically, he's only just got 4 corners to go. And really only just the chicane of proper corners. And now the final 2 corners, turn 18 and 19, coming up towards the bus stop chicane. Ooh, lots of locking up there from the Sauber. Florian really struggling to get the car turned in. It looks like he is struggling a bit on the brakes. And across the line, it is going to be a 1 minute 59.353.
Nice stuff there from Fanzelter. He sets the benchmark for the rest of the field to try and beat as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether anyone is going to be able to get on terms with him, as we are going to see more and more contenders come across the line. And it's going to be Lucas going to the top of the table. So Kicksabel 1-2 for the moment, but it will be about to change with the rest of the field coming across the line, as there goes Dennis to the top of the table. 1 minute 52.216 is now the benchmark around this sparse circuit. And then it's Thomas Kenny who's been able to also find the time in the Aston Martin. The driver who currently sits 5th in the standings is a reserve driver as well. So doing quite well is Thomas with his great result, a 2nd place last time out in Barcelona.
Very good, as we can see, JST. And now Leo Lund goes fastest of all and into the 1 minute 56. Putting himself far ahead, about 1.4 seconds ahead of the rest of the grid, which is absolutely an incredible lap. Now, that might come down to setup differences, but it doesn't hugely matter because it's still massively ahead. But now it isn't, because Larry Tulkey has just gone into P2 and it's just 1 minute 56.918 and really brings that gap down to just over 1/10 of a second. But I do have to say, these front two looking very strong in their wet weather form. I believe we have Joe Murphy who goes fastest across the line. And it is 1 minute 56.6 already. The time's just coming down massively. But you can also see quite clearly on your screen, it is also getting lighter rain as well. The rain is getting lighter compared to the start of the session. So do we think this is where most of the lap time is coming from?
Yeah, it definitely could be. Sometimes in a qualifying session like this, when we tick over, when the 18 minutes conclude, and it can sometimes be a situation of last driver across the line, and that's sometimes how qualifyings are decided. And if that is going to be the case, where it is going to be a circuit that will be improving all the way till the checkered flag, we could really be in for a very tasty qualifying session where, as we described to you earlier, it's not always going to be what we've seen, the form in the opening 2 rounds, but it could be completely switched up when it comes to the qualifying if it is going to be a drying circuit, because it's about who can find the lap time at the right time. That's how a drying circuit, when it comes to qualifying, can usually play out in terms of an ending of a qualifying session. But it's Murphy, Lund, Tulkey, Modler, and Kokeni at the moment as our top 5. As I say that, it's Wojciech Steg who's found the improvement to 4th position. So we've got 2 Hasses together on the circuit. So it's Tulkey ahead of his teammate for the moment, but still a lot to change in this session. And as we mentioned, the times will go faster and faster and faster.
Very much. I do agree. I think it also just comes down to where you're stronger, you know. Wet weather, dry weather, where are you better? But what's been proven is going earlier in the session hasn't necessarily been best. A lot more drivers who went later have, of course, clearly gone quicker. So that is quite an interesting one. We've already got a couple of drivers out on a couple of outlaps, and one of those drivers is our current championship leader, Luca Ripassa.
Yeah, he's out there. Is Ripassa at the moment on the outlap, and he is now pushing on down towards this La Source corner as you try and rotate your way by. Matthias van Oven, his lap time came on the full wets. By the way, everyone else electing for those green wall intermediates, and now you're about to head into Rouge and Radion, some of the most famous corners in all of motor racing, as Fan Zelta now finds the improvement. But expect to see, as we mentioned, lots of drivers improving and going quickly. So you're going to see loads of drivers going to the top. That will be the story all the way till the end of this session. You get down to Le Com after this Kemmel Straight, and then you get into now this second sector where it is challenging, where you have to do the work through the corners.
Very much. As you can see, he is working those corners, but maybe a little bit too much. A little bit of sliding on the rear. Out of turn 7 and out into the corner with no name. Throwing the car through. Can he hold it together? Pretty nice through there. Almost touching the gravel on my screen, it looked like. But now into Pouon he goes. I love riding on board with the cars as they go through Pouon. It just shows the such extreme speed of the corner and how technical it can be. As now Luca Ripassa heads through into turn 12 and turn 13. Once again, JST now goes fastest of all into a 1 minute 56.2. Improving that time a bit more. It's coming down more and more. As you can see, the rain is almost entirely stopped. But what can Luca Ripassa do? He set 2 purple sectors, but of course we know the game has a bit of a tendency of not being truthful about the lap times when it comes down to the track map. But we'll have to see as Luca Ripassa makes his way around. Incredible speed this lap, incredible consistency so far. I haven't seen a mistake from the Red Bull driver just yet. Let's see, can he hold it together through the final part of his lap? A little bit of sliding off of the rear, out of the final corner, and across the line. He goes fast for one. It's a 1 minute 54.823.
Really a tidy lap. As you mentioned, absolutely no identifiable mistakes around this circuit on that lap time, and there's a reason why he has gone so quickly. But as I mentioned, you are going to see everyone improving lap after lap after lap with this circuit. That is going to continue to dry out at the moment. It is now Kedden Lutt who is improved to second position. So those are some of the latest lap times that have come on the board at the moment, but a highly competitive qualifying session this, so it is going to be right in the balance all the way till we tick down. We've already got 7 minutes to go, so this session is absolutely flown by.
Very much. I'm looking around for who is next across the line, and there's a lot of drivers scattered very much everywhere, as a lot of drivers are starting laps, but I believe the furthest along is, I think it's Thomas Lang in the Alpine. I believe it is, if I am correct. He is the next one to finish a lap. He's looking pretty strong, of course. Like we said, we're just going to see the times get lower and lower and get quicker and quicker every few minutes. But the drivers, it all just comes down to which order they go in. As you can see, there is a massive amount of bunching throughout the pack, as you can see going through that middle sector. But Thomas Lang heading round the final corner. He's not been able to find the time, has he? Only a 1 minute 56.792, which is still 7th, but is almost entire 2 seconds of Luca Ripassa. So clearly, not everybody is on the same footing at the moment, I'd say.
Yeah, and when you have such a long circuit, when you have these type of conditions, you can see a bit more of a distance compared to, let's say, if we were going and having this qualifying session in the dry. Joe Murphy, the British driver, currently pushing on as well at the moment in the Aston Martin is Joe Murphy as he tries to find the improvement, but it's important to get on a new set of intermediates for those final stages when the circuit will be at its best, because that's when you need to find the improvement. Pepe Marti going to the top of the table. Doesn't look like we've got Vershaw in the session this time around. Doesn't look like, unlike last week. So we've just got Pepe Marti's name to enjoy. No longer at the top though. That belongs to Lucas. Then it belongs to Leo Lund.
I have to say, an incredible lap from Leo Lund there, finding another second over Lucas Bazin, who just crossed the line just a few seconds before as Larry Tolke finds even more time. It is coming down more and more. Dennis Langrock isn't able to find the best lap time, though. He still finds himself over a second behind. Tomasz Kokony goes into P3 exactly with a 53.999. We love to see it, don't we? But in the end, I have to say, it's proving, wet conditions give the drivers something different to go against. They've got to control their throttle, their brake much more carefully. But at the same time, it gives a bit of uncertainty, doesn't it, to qualifying and even to, as we see in the races, it gives a huge amount of uncertainty. How far can your tyres go? How do you have to manage your ERS differently? How do you have to change your driving style? That is everything to think about as a driver. And I think this is what we see when it comes down to adaptability. And I think the wet conditions show who can adapt best on the grid.
Yeah, that is exactly the case. It is exactly the case as well. And now a lot of drivers have come into the pit lane, and they, as I mentioned, will be getting that new set of tyre on the car. And then it will be all eyes to the final run, a final run which you will need to nail to give yourself a great opportunity. And usually grid spots can be quite important as well. Qualifying highly, it can be quite important with the dirty air that we've got on this game. Now, while this is one of those circuits where you can overtake and you have some straights to do so, it still can be quite tricky when you do get stuck within that dirty air and then the DRS trains that you also can get. So overtaking can heavily depend on the battery usage.
I do agree with you there. Somebody's going slowly, and that is Tomasz Kokony, who's slowly crawling back to the pits. Just noticed there was a couple of yellow flags. I think a Ferrari's going slowly. That's somebody who's going slowly. That is Ryan Modler, who's going slowly. He's not entirely up to... he's maybe had a bit of a moment there. I'm not sure. He's on his outlap. He is going very slowly at the moment. As you can see, he's actually down in first gear. So quite interesting there. I think the next driver to start a lap, because Florian's slowed down, I think the next driver to start a lap is JST.
Yeah, it will be fascinating to watch and see what JST will be able to do and get around the circuit, which there is so much around this place where you can improve to try and get yourself a faster lap time and to try and get yourself to the top of the table. And it will be thousands when everyone has set a time at the end of the session across our timing page that will be separating them. So every single advantage that you can get over the rest of the field will be very, very important. And if you are at the back of the field like like Joel as well, who, may I just add, was the winner last time WOR raced around this circuit. That was in season 18. He won driving a Williams that day, and he will be hoping to try replicate that here in PC Tier 2. But right now, 19th position is definitely not the lap time or the position that he would have been wanting to look at with a few minutes to go.
Very much, I do agree. I think we just saw JST just invalidated through El Rouge and Radion, just going over the curb a little bit too much there from the RB driver. But we could see, I believe, Ryan Grob, who's currently on the lap. He's P18, down there with Joel in P19 as well. So it's not going well for the Red Bull and the Racing Bull driver. So, it's not been the perfect start to their qualifying. Finding some traffic now. But for Ryan Grob, do you know what I'm more worried about? Is the next bit of traffic he's going to be hitting. Because he's got some cars that are actually practically racing each other. As I can see in Sector 3, coming up to the Chicane 4 position of who's going to go next.
Yeah, that is exactly the case as we get the bunching up. As long as it's not to a crazy level as the Formula 3 qualifying that we had a few weeks ago, then everything should be all okay. as we make our way through. We mentioned it's an important lap for Van Oven, so it'll be interesting to watch his progress. 10 seconds to go on the clock, so it's now or never for all of the drivers in the field. This could be a situation of last over the line. That is why you're seeing so many drivers on an out lap. Who is not going to make it? I don't think Tulki will make it. The driver at the front, the top four won't make it. Neither will the driver in seventh. So it is an absolute mess out there, and all of the drivers trying to be last over the line. Some have misjudged it.
Very, very much they've misjudged it by an absolute mile. First driver who's going to be crossing the line is Florian. I think we saw there that Tomasz Kokeny wasn't even close to the line, was he? He was way back. He was all the way back in about turn 14 or turn 15 between those two corners when he did actually, when qualifying came to an end. So he was quite far off. Joel as well has ended his qualifying session. So he is done. He's not been able to find time in the end, and he stays P19. It's Florian now into the chicane. Ooh, a little bit deep from the Sauber. He's P11 at the moment. A bit of an improvement. Can send him up a place or two. Where's he going to go? He goes fastest of all. Finds 3.8 seconds to a 1 minute 52.539. Next, who is next across the line? It is Thomas Lang, and I am on a roll for guessing the right driver to be across the line next. And it is the Alpine driver making his way around. He's got to get this right. He's up by quite a few seconds. Of course, it is, like you said, going to come down to the thousandths of a second. And across the line, Thomas Lang goes P2 and a solid lap for himself, but half a second away from the provisional pole for the moment. Ryan Modler goes into P2. He finds another 3/10. Joe Murphy, fastest of all, into a 1 minute 51. Look at that! 1,000th of a second, as now Tom Roberts is fourth. Luca Repassa, the championship leader, goes third. There is just jumping everywhere. Drivers going absolutely everywhere. JST seventh. Pepe Marti in sixth. Now Cameron Dowds finishes fourth. Pretty much everybody's now finished. And that is the end of qualifying. And it is this man on pole position. I'm afraid to say I'm not going to say his name because I don't entirely know how to. But I'm not gonna absolutely rip that name apart.
Yeah, well, Wojciech Steg ending as a pole sitter for the second time this season, only 1,000th to Joe Murphy in second, then Repassa, Dowds, Roberts, then Marty, Fanzelter, and then Grob, JSD, and Kendon Lutt completing our top 10. Then it then was Ryan, Modler, Thomas Lang, and then Laurie Tulke. Matthias Van Erven improved to 14th with that late lap, then Lund, Kokeny, and then we had Dennis, Lucas, and then Booker, and then we had Joel, who, as I mentioned, was our winner here in Tier 2 in Season 18, but he will be the last driver on the grid for our race that is about to get underway.
Well, we will be having a restart.
We will.
Sadly.
There's a grid penalty.
Yes, which is strange because it is for contact, which personally I would have thought we wouldn't have restarted for. Just purely based off of it being contact. But that might just be me. But ultimately, I have some interesting information for you. Some interesting facts. If nobody knows, and not a lot of people actually know this, Pouron is actually, and officially, two different corners, turn 10 and turn 11. So it is two different corners. Also, another fact about Spa, it shouldn't be allowed on the calendar because the FIA deem any track over 7 kilometers is too long. But as we saw on the track map, it is 7.004 kilometers and is given special dispensation because it is a historical track.
Yeah, it has indeed. It has indeed. It's just one of those iconic circuits, but even though sometimes it does get questioned in real life, it's still one of the greats when it comes to league racing, and especially with WOR has produced some great moments over the seasons, and we're looking to add a bit more to that here in season 21.
And we are, I believe, getting a new lobby host. I believe, because some people are complaining about the lobby, so we might be changing lobby in a minute. And if we do, we might have to sadly go to a short intermission. But before any of that, let's just have another look at the standings, because it's important to look at the standings now after qualifying. Luca Ipasa, good qualifying for him, and if he finishes where he's qualified, he will still lead the championship, undoubtedly. He will lead the championship. But it was a bit of a tough qualifying for a couple of drivers, wasn't it? Tomasz Kokony had a bit of an up and down session. Same for Cameron Dowds. A lot of people mixed around, and I don't think everybody is. I don't think everybody is exactly where they're going to be, because we can see, for instance, it is dry on track, by the way. So it is going to be a dry race. So do you think this is going to lead to people being in the wrong places from where they should have been?
It definitely could. From a wet race to a possible dry one, it's going to be very fascinating. It's going to be very fascinating to see how it is all going to play out. The order can completely change. The pit stop phase will be very vital. The pit stop phase will be very, very vital indeed. So that's when the drivers will really, really need to try, and along with their engineers, will really need to try and find that improvement as well off position. That's the big way where you can jump up quite a few places.
Very much. Turn 1, we've seen in real life, it is the bringing of chaos. Turn 1. Do you think it is going to be the bringing of chaos in turn 1 in tier 2 here tonight?
Oh, well, I think they'll maybe behave themselves, and then when we get up to Lecom, after the chemistry, I think it could get a little bit interesting. So yeah, we're going to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, very much. I think drivers are a lot more careful in turn 1 than they used to be. To keep their races intact, especially at this such high level that we see these drivers at. I have one question. Are you in the lobby?
Not at the moment.
No.
I'm going to get myself in the lobby as well, because we are also having a lobby change, as you mentioned, because of the issues that the drivers have been complaining about. Not the easiest qualifying them on the circuit, so we're just doing that to ensure that it's a smooth race and the drivers don't get a reason to complain, and it's a completely fair contest in case some drivers were experiencing some issues.
I do feel like there was possibly one or two people in the final runs that were experiencing a few issues, as I did see one or two drivers. They didn't improve massively compared to the rest of the grids. They found, I think one or two drivers only found about a second in the lap time, so possibly a few people just being a bit either off of the pace or having a couple of issues. But tonight, I think that qualifying tonight has shown a very interesting side to what can happen in qualifying. Now we're going on to the very highly anticipated race here at Spa-Francorchamps. Do you feel like this is going to be maybe even a championship defining race?
It could be. There's a long way to go, but once you finish the season, you look back at different races on, okay, well, this is where I lost the championship possibly. Every single race, you lose a couple of points. Even the drivers who can be really consistent, they will look back at rounds. If they do finish second, if they do finish third, they will look back at rounds and notice the fact where possibly some opportunities were lost. And that is why you need to minimize those errors and be consistent. So sometimes settle for those seconds, settle for those thirds, which in all honesty we haven't seen across this entire season so far. We've had contact between the two leaders in both in both races that we've ran this season. We had contact in the final on the last lap of the last corner in Australia, and then last time out in Spain, a few laps from the end, we had contact between the leaders as well. So we've had two races and two late race changes due to contact. So it's very interesting to see how this one's going to go in round 3 and whether they can keep it clean as well. That's one of the main things that we are actually coming into this round in terms of our main talking point. Are we going to be able to survive a race without having the leaders come to blows?
Ooh, that's a big question, and a question I'm not gonna be sure I don't think I can really answer, to be honest. I think it's difficult. But Yeah, I think I'm trying to get into the lobby at the moment. By the way, I'm having an absolute battle. But yeah, I think it's an interesting track. Of course, it brings racing. It brings a lot to the table, doesn't it? You know, it's a very different track. Like you said, maybe we'll see some battling between the leaders. Who knows? For me though, it was a very interesting end to it's a very interesting end to qualifying. It was a bit different from what I expected it to be. And of course, it was wet conditions, but yeah, very different.
Yeah, qualifying was quite different. In terms of pole sitter, well, it was quite similar, to be fair, with Wojciech Steg taking a second pole of the season. He has been performing absolutely brilliantly when it has come to qualifying, has Wojciech Steg, and that's going to be the important thing that he's going to try and maintain when it comes to this round as well, as it was a brilliant pole position last time out for him, but he finds his way all the way down in 25th in the championship because the race that he did. So he didn't attend the season opening round in Australia, but the round he did in Spain last time out, that was the one where he took pole and he finished 15th. So it wasn't the brilliant race that he would have been hoping for after getting the best view for the lights out moment. So let's see whether we can change that around. It can be quite a challenging start when it comes to the opening lap here at Spa. Always is. You navigate your way through Le Source, but as I mentioned, it can be the crunch point by the time you get down to Le Combe after the Kemmel Straight, where you can sometimes get slipstreamed. So that's the moment where I think he's going to be having to try his best to maintain the lead. And sometimes if you can maintain it on the opening lap, in this game we've learnt you can control it for a while, but it's the final lap that you've really got to focus on, along with the pit stop phase of the race.
Very, very true. I think the last lap, I'm going to be honest here, the last lap is more important than any other lap on this year's game. But before any racing gets started, before we have any further conversation, let's just give the people who are either just joining or have just returned after qualifying of a couple of things. First, the track map for tonight. We come to Spa-Francorchamps, 7.004 kilometers, 4.352 miles, 19 turns, 2 DRS zones, and a hell of a lot of elevation. Of course, absolutely brilliant corners like El Rouge and Radion, corner with No Name, and for instance, Pouron, which is of course turn number 10 and 11, and turn 2, 3, and 4, along with also turn number 9, which is corner with No Name. Also, looking at the calendar, we've gone through Australia and Spain, and of course, this week we come to Belgium, as you've just seen with the track map. Last look at the standings before we get into the race. Luca Rapassa leads the championship on 43 points ahead of Gabor Santos, then Lewis Bloor, Lucas Beisner, Tomasz Kokony in 5th, then Cameron Dowds, Ryan Modler, Leo Lund, Ryan Grob, and Thomas Lang in 10th. And now we are getting into the race very shortly. The game's just slowly loading. But with that, it is going to be an interesting one, I think, tonight. I think it's going to be different. I think, of course, the dry conditions are going to bring a lot of changes. If we still get dry conditions, I believe we should. It's going to bring a lot of differences from qualifying and going to really spice up the grid going into this race. And I have to say, this is one hell of a grid.
It is one incredible grid that is about to get going into this Le Source corner that we've been describing to you. And then it's all about prioritizing the Kemmel Straight and the run that you get all the way down there. It is quite the slipstream fest, as we've seen over these seasons here in WOR. As we mentioned, it's our first race around the circuit since season 18, where the driver who starts 20th won. Joel won that race all those seasons ago, so he's going to try and replicate that, but he would have to do a last to first if he is to find his way to do so. But that's how much also driver performance and driver pace can change around season to season and game to game as well.
Very true indeed. We're just waiting for the drivers to sort out their tyres, to sort out their strategies, talk to their engineers about what changes they should make to their setups and what they should do for the race. What would you say the strategy is looking like for this race?
We've seen unpredictable ones, but I think if it stays dry, which it is cloudy,
and we are
I'll have to wait.
It is 3, 4, 5 red lights. And away we go here in WOR PC Tier 2 season number 21. And it is a great getaway from the pole sitter. Luca Rapassa down the inside of Joe Murphy already. And that is a great move up into P2 for the championship leader. Pepe Marti as well making moves as now they head through El Rouge and Rally on the top 4 already, starting to break away from the rest of the pack. And now they make their way through. You can see a couple of side-by-side bits of action. But here comes the man of Joe Murphy on Luca Rapassa, and also Cameron Dowds in the background looking for a move at the same time. Oh, Luca Rapassa around the outside makes the move and takes the lead of the race here already off of the Kemmel Straight, and that is a brilliant around the outside move, and a move that I did not expect to see. I didn't even realize was happening there, but a brilliant move from the championship leader as he hones in on his second win of the season.
Really, really fascinating start. They were all going for it on the Kemmel Straight, as we predicted they would, as they now are navigating their way through on this opening lap of the contest, where it has everyone bar 2 drivers starting on the medium tyres. So we've got Joel and Tamas, who have gone different to the rest of the field, who are on those yellow wool medium compound of tyres as well. But Luca Rapassa finding himself going from 3rd on the grid to the lead, and Ryan Grobb's also gained 2 positions. Leo Lund has gained 3, and so has Lucas and the Kick Sauber further back. So quite a few drivers gaining positions, quite a few drivers maintaining positions, and unfortunately a few heading backwards, which is not what they would have wanted to see as we throw it into the bus stop chicane.
And look at that, Ryan Grobb down the inside of Tom Roberts and Floyd. Oh, that's a bit of front wing that's come off. I don't know which car that came off of. Was that Pepe Marti that came off of? It looks like it might have been. I don't know who that's actually come off of. You can see very aggressive battling here. I think that might have actually been Florian. That looks like it's come off of the Sauber there. I can't see just yet. Looks like it has.
Has indeed, from the looks of it at the moment, as things could be about to change, because Cameron Dowds trying to go on the attack, also on the grass all the while. The Mercedes driver trying to get by, trying to sell the dummy, looking left, looking right, no way through at the moment, and still 4th place in his possession. Meanwhile, Ryan Grobb trying to go all the way around the outside of Van Zelter. There is no way through at the moment, and it's back to the wheel tracks. What about down in a few moments' time? He'll try and nip through. He's basically making contact and pushing the Kick Sauber through as we're about to go through Jackie X corner, and Ryan Grobb still not able to make the move. But sometimes if you try and have a half look, it could leave you vulnerable, and you've got Marty directly in behind trying to capitalize, and Leo Lund all the way around the outside going off the road as he tries to get past Larry Tolke.
And a brilliant move from Leo Lund. We're seeing quite a lot of drivers going for those moves. That's Matthias down the inside. Matthias Van Erven with a brilliant move on Ryan Moller for P14. And there's a brilliant move from the Williams driver. But our race leader, Luca Rapassa, and I should also say our championship leader, starting to pull away.
Yes, and that is going to be meaning that Joe Murphy will be assessing the situation. Does he need to be the driver who is 2nd place? Wojciech Steg realised that the Red Bull driver was pulling away at the front of the field, so he has tried to get on with it. Use a bit of battery down towards Blanchimon and then the bus stop. So Murphy now is staying close, but the top 3 back together as we're about to go down Kemmel Straight in a few moments' time. All the while we are battling further back, and you're going to see Thomas Kotkeny trying to find a way through at La Source, and it's going to be neck and neck between these 2 drivers. Meanwhile, we've got Modler trying to gain a position as well.
It is all going on. Ooh, very close for Lucas Bejner there. And now we've got to look to the front of this race. There goes Joe Murphy down on the inside of Wojciech, and that is a brilliant move from Joe Murphy down the inside of the Haas, and that's a move made, and he has licked the stamp and sent it, and that is a great move up into P2, and now chasing the race leader and championship leader, Luca Rapassa.
Yes, indeed. So Luca Rapassa is going to be seeing more and more different drivers come on his rear right now at the moment, because we are seeing the driver in second place struggling to maintain that 1 second gap. So you're going to see more and more drivers realizing, well, I need to be in second. I need to make sure we maintain this gap. Or it could be another victory heading Repassa's way, and that is not what anyone would have wanted. Any other driver in this field would have wanted coming into this season. Because we are getting to a point, Epic, where we're looking at a situation where if Repassa continues this domination run that he's on with a first and a second this season, then, you know, it could be a situation where if he's able to get another win, that he starts running away while everyone else is struggling to be consistent around him.
Yeah, very much. I said about this, didn't I? Not only before the stream, but also at the start. Luca Rapassa, he's got that 18-point lead in the championship. If he extends it massively, which he is probably set to do here tonight, that is definitely, you know, if he extends it by about 10 points, even potentially, let's say 10 points, that's now 28 points he could lead the championship by. At that point, he could actually miss a race and still lead the championship.
Quite remarkable. As meanwhile, further back, Leo Lund is in 9th position, but was absolutely having a battle with the Williams directly in behind at the moment, as we are going to bring it down into the braking zone. Meanwhile, further back, that's going to be Tulki, who is able to get past Kedden Lutt at the moment, the McLaren driver, heading backwards as we go through Jackie X once again with that McLaren car, who's going to be looking to try and improve into the points. He's lost 2 places from where he started the contest, so there's still a lot of work to do for him as he tries to recover back some of those places.
Very much. I'm not sure what's happened here for Keaton Lutt. He just seems to be struggling a bit on those medium tyres. Maybe pressure's being a bit too high. Maybe he's just gotten it a little bit wrong with the setup, because he just seems to be suffering from either tyre wear, overheating, or possibly even just pure understeer. He's definitely suffering from something that's causing his car to understeer quite heavily. We saw out of turn number 7, didn't we? That he was just understeering, and that's what allowed Larry Tulke through. So some problems, but Leo Lund going around the outside of Ryan Grob for P8, and that's a brilliant move through the bus stop chicane. We're seeing a lot of very daring moves from the top 10 here tonight.
We are indeed. They're all going for it at the moment. There's another example of it, as Ryan Grob having to look in his mirrors now to the side because he's got Marty directly alongside. We're about to head into Air Ridge Corner. Who's going to be bravest between these two drivers? They bang wheels as they make their way through, and having to cut over the road there was Pepe Marty, and now Ryan Grob is able to enter head using some of the battery as well. That was really, really tight stuff between them. Talking about being tight, Cameron Dowds trying to find the gap up the inside. They're basically banging wheels. He's momentarily got a tyre on the grass, and now he has got the possession of P3. Up goes Dowds, down goes Wojciech. Not what our pole sitter wanted.
Yeah, Wojciech, I don't know what's happened to him. I think he just got heavily affected after Luca Rapassa took the lead, didn't he? He just seems to have not been able to recover that pace. But it's what we spoke about, didn't we? Who might be out of position here? And I think Wojciech proving that he might have been slightly out of position in wet weather pace. He might have been quickest, but here and now, in the dry, he's definitely not.
Yep, that is exactly the state of the race on lap number 5. So, like we saw for Wojciech, we were discussing pre-race about the situation he found himself in, having started all the way in first and ending the contest in 15th. He was struggling with pace, and it looks like it could be about to go from bad to worse, because now you've got the next driver there of Tom Roberts looking to attack the Haas as we are about to head into Lesor's corner, going to the inside line, and it's going to be easy on the brakes, and he is going to take the position. It will be an attempt of a switchback. It will be an attempt of a cutback for Wojciech, but nothing doing at the moment, and now JSD will know that he has to try and get by as well down this Kemmel straight as he tries to make this overtake. If not, then he could find himself losing some he could be losing some time through this middle sector. So he knows that he has to get by up against Steg, who is struggling. He places the car on the outside, brakes very early, does JSD, not prepared to go for that risk at the moment. It is important to keep your front wing intact, but let's see whether it will be something audacious in the middle sector, or will you have to wait till next lap.
It looks like Wojciech is just struggling with his tyres all round, doesn't it? It just looks like he just doesn't seem to have all the pace. Is it maybe overheating from being stuck behind? Maybe, but none of his competitors look like they're particularly struggling from overheating at all. Is it potentially just pushing the tyres a bit too early? That's very probable. But we'll have to see, because by the way, Leo Lund, his overtake past Florian has brought himself back within a second of P6 and ultimately linking the grid all the way down to last. Again, everybody is within DRS of each other. So, pretty interesting there for Leo Lund, proving that he's got the pace behind him, and he's dragging around the rest of the grid here tonight.
Absolutely. And Epic, the chat is wondering whether there's any possibility of getting some track audio with these brilliant cars. Do we have that available to us?
Maybe, if I can get it working.
Here we go. We might be able to bring you some track audio as well from Spa with these amazing cars going around one of the great motor racing circuits. So, yeah, we're just going to be able to get you track audio. Hopefully it's all working now.
It should be working. If it's not, I can put it up a bit more. It's OBS not liking me today. It's been very weird with audio the last few weeks. Doesn't seem to like this game's audio at all. But it should all be working now. And if it's not, I will put it up more. And we'll go from there. But Joel making an important move for P15 ahead of Keaton. Keaton really struggling now, isn't he? He's lost, 5 places in the last couple of laps. So those medium tyres are just not working for him. But I want to just ask, for everybody on the hard tyres, of course, just the 2 drivers of Tomasz Kokony and Joel, do you think the hard tyres are now the stronger tyre?
You'll be getting to that transition phase as well, but it won't be that major. The engineers will be assessing the situation for the drivers, and they will be taking a look at all of the data that they have available to them about when is the right crossover point. So they will have all of that they will have all of that available to them. So I'm sure they will be making the decision. But yeah, they won't be out there to a point where we'll see the hards absolutely make the move and get quite a few positions every lap. So it will start going possibly the hard tyres way in a few moments time, but for the moment, the mediums currently still working out for everyone in the field. No one has decided to bolt it into the pit lane until that moment as Leo Lund comes in.
Interesting to see some drivers calling it quits. Quite a few drivers, actually, I believe. That is 5 drivers all calling it quits now. Hopefully the audio should all be okay now, if there's no complaints at all. So hopefully that should all be good. But with that all fixed and ready to go now, you can see those pit stops proving to be important for the for 5 drivers. Leo Lund, Pepe, Marty and Larry Tolke quite specifically. Very much important for them. As you can see, Matthias Van Erven making his move. But look at that. Tomasz Kokony has had to actually go off there as he's just not been able to go round the outside of Van Erven nor Ryan Grobb. So clearly the hard tie is not fully ahead just yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And the chat would just like it a little bit more higher, and then we should be absolutely all okay with this. And then, yeah, everything should be good. Let us know in the chat whether it's all perfect now, as Epic has made those small adjustments. There we go.
It's just getting it just right, because I have to fiddle around with the settings on this year's game for audio, strangely enough. But that should all be good now. Otherwise, I'll put it a bit more up. But we'll get there at some point, won't we? We'll reach the right amount soon. But I do have to say that looking across the grid, the sort of dark horse in all of tonight's race has been Tom Roberts, hasn't it? As now Joe Murphy comes in, so does Tom Roberts. He's been a bit of a dark horse, hasn't he? You know, he's proven that he's got some decent pace behind him. But do you think he's got the chance to push for the win?
I think there could definitely be some opportunities, but it will be, I think we can get a proper judgment once we get through this pit stop phase, because loads of things can change by the time these drivers rejoin. It's a long lap around this place, so the gain, the undercut, the overcut, it has a bigger effect compared to, let's say, some other venues, because you've got a lot more time to warm up those tyres. So it can usually go both ways as well. So as we get all of the cars rejoining the road, lots of pit stops coming in that time by. So now we're going to see all of them attacking and scrambling for track position. So yeah, once we've got all of the drivers pitting, and then we'll be able to get a better idea of how this one could go. But even then, there's always that risk that it can completely change by the time the checkered flag comes, because it is WOR, and we've already talked you through a few examples of how dramatic this season has been so far.
Very much. Dennis Langrock, by the way, just got past Ryan Grob for P16. But we've got to talk about Leo Lund here. He's actually put himself between Joe Murphy and Tom Roberts. So that undercut clearly working for the McLaren driver.
It has, and that is vital. That's exactly what I was just talking you through in terms of we can see some position changes like that, and somehow, some way, we can see drivers just end up losing, even if it might just be one lap due to how long the lap is. It can just be some drivers heading backwards by a couple of positions, and it might only be a couple of places, but with the dirtier, with the DRS trains, those few positions can be critical in whether you win this race or possibly just get a podium.
Very much. I do feel like, you see with, these strategies where everybody's going to go, but the big question is, where is championship leader Luca Repassa going to go? Because he's already down to P5. A couple of drivers, of course, on the hard tyres. Where's he going to come out in all of this? Of course, it's a tighter corner. Has he been able to jump Joe Murphy? Is he staying in front? No, he's not. He's lost position to Joe Murphy. And so, essentially, that is the provisional lead for the Aston Martin.
It is indeed, and that's exactly what we were telling you about how this order can completely change. Meanwhile, you've got Repassa, though, trying to immediately avenge that, going for the move, and it's going to be trying to keep his foot in for Murphy, but it will be the position gained for Repassa back to that leading position, the net lead for the driver now in 5th, so Murphy drops down to a net 2nd place, then it's Leo Lund, and then it is Cameron Dowd waiting and looking to try pounce.
Very much. I do think Cameron Dowds has a good chance here, doesn't he? He has a very good chance. He's proven he's got the pace. He's proven he's got the racecraft so far this season to make his way through the order. But can we see him making it all the way up ahead of Luca Repassa, Joe Murphy and Leo Lund?
Yeah, and a big question will be, can Repassa break clear with this DRS? Well, we've had, as I've mentioned, contact between the top two in both races so far this season that we have run here in Season 21. And it's right now Repassa trying to make sure there's none of that in this round by getting an advantage of over 1 second. Murphy will have to try and keep this one in, but this is going to be vital because this could be the difference because Repassa's got the tire advantage. What he's going to try to do is break away and make this not a battle for the win and instead leave everyone else to scrap it out for 2nd place. Into the pit lane comes Kedon Lutt, but Murphy's going to be able to stay with him this time by with the DRS, so he'll close back in, but Repassa's intent is pretty clear at the moment.
Very much, and he's almost just breaking that 2nd mark. He's just 300ths away from it, so Luca Repassa showing that pace. He's just sitting on that 2nd mark at the moment. Has Joe Murphy gotten DRS? Yes, he has. For now, he's just gotten DRS. So I'd say this lap, Luca Repassa will break that DRS. And I have to say, this race and this championship looks like Luca Repassa's at the moment.
It does. That is where the momentum's heading. And it's a bigger exam question now for the rest of the field in the remaining rounds. Everyone definitely has the time to change that by the time we conclude our season in Abu Dhabi in round 10. But it's all about trying to find a momentum and become the informed driver in the season. And there could be a moment where Repassa loses that form that he's on right now of being so consistent. And these drivers, of course, doing plenty of league racing, so it can be even it can even be a situation of somewhere in other leagues possibly where a moment of struggle comes and it just affects them overall. So there's a lot to consider, And even though it does look like right now Rapace is the one running away with it, stranger things definitely have happened here in WOR. So it still is wide open and could be anyone's by the time we conclude our season at the moment. And Rapace are able to get through on Lucas there. Murphy needs to try get by as well as soon as possible. And there's going to be the moment where Lucas comes into the pit lane and leaves everyone to it then on the circuit. But it's a 1 second gap now. Still the DRS for Murphy. He's going to close the gap in into turn 1, but it'll still be 9-10. So still touch and go for the Aston Martin man. As they make their way, attack into Rouge and Radion. Some of the great corners, as we've already talked you through. And then it's down into Lecom. And Leo Lund looking to see whether he can get closer and closer. Not close enough for the move as it stands for the moment.
Very much. I do have to say that what's interesting is that Joe Murphy did not get DRS between, on the Kemmel Straight, which is not good for him, and it's a sign of a bit of downfall here now. And look at that, that's Tomasz Kokony, who just completely moved out of the way of Luca Rapasa.
Some changes definitely going on to the order, and some games going on there as we see the moment now. Murphy also getting his way by, but that will surely be a gap that is going to be major. 1.2 seconds now. So Murphy losing that DRS, and that could be the winning moment coming Rapace's way. Yes, there's a long way to go, but if you can break clear, it is absolutely everything in terms of your race. It is the biggest moment of your race, and it definitely goes a long way in deciding who wins this. Leo Lund also able to get by, but everyone is now starting to lose touch, and Rapace starting to pull away.
And the worst thing for Joe Murphy now is that Rapace is actually going to get DRS down the Kemmel Straight as well, because of the late stopping Joel on those hard tyres. It gives Luca Rapace here a brilliant chance to hold on to this lead, and this is the moment in the race, isn't it? Mid-race, and this can be sort of defying. This can be, or defining, I should really say, because now he's gotten past Joel, and he's now about 1.8 seconds in the lead of the race.
Yep, that is exactly the moment for Rapace to hit the front of the field, and that could now be the moment where he's able to pull away with things and try and control this from here. But this battle for second place still going to be very vital, and Joe Murphy going to do his best as well, so it'll be fascinating to keep an eye on his progress in terms of up against Leo Lund, and if there's any other contenders that try and make some overtakes to try and gain some form of an advantage as well.
Very much. I do think in this case, Joe Murphy, he still hasn't gotten past the Racing Bulls car of Joel. Is he throwing it away? Potentially, because that gap's gone back up to about 1.8, 1.9. It did come down to about 1.6, so he is losing time slowly. But at the same time, Leo Lund has also had quite a bad lap there.
Yep, he has indeed, as Murphy really closes in, and out of the way goes Joel into the pit lane as well. But yeah, Joe Murphy on his way to a very good result at the moment, P2, and he's a driver who is a reserve driver for this tier as well this season. And in the opening round, of course, it was a retirement in Australia. He didn't do last round, and now he's back with us, and now a contender for the podium, as out of the race goes Thomas Lang. Unfortunately, he has retired when it comes into the pit lane, when he came into the pit lane.
Tough week for Thomas Lang. We've got to say about that, haven't we? A bit of a tough week for the Alpine. But one thing I do want to say is we talk about, we sound, I'm going to be honest, we do sound a bit disappointed when we say, Joe Murphy can't win this race. But we've still got to take in, like you said, that this is still an absolutely brilliant result for the Aston Martin. It is still, a great performance in such a talented grid like this. It is brilliant. Same for Leo Lund, same for so many of these drivers. To get a podium in something like this, would be something, to be honest, I dream of, because it is such a high level of operating skill. To be so fast and so consistent at this game is just incredible at this level. And with so many, with such a mixed age group as well, we've got so many young talents in here, and we've got a couple of older drivers in here as well who have far more experience, but you see they're all so close. But in the end, it doesn't really matter, because for all of these guys, they all know their skill, and their teams know their skill, and everyone knows how good this grid is.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming back to the Murphy point that you were mentioning, he's going to be delighted. He's going to be loving life with second. Yeah, you're a racing driver. You'll be disappointed not to be able to fight for the win. But his goal coming into the season, as I'll talk about that in a second, because that's a late lunge on the brakes for Cameron Dowd as he attempted to go to the inside line, and he's going to be wheel to wheel with Leo Lund as we approach Rouge and Rowdy on a big moment in the race. Can Dowds get ahead? He's going to keep his foot in. They're very nearly going to make contact. Off the road will go Lund. He will rejoin, and he'll just be ahead of that Mercedes car. And Dowds now trying to deploy some of the battery to make this move. By the time we get down to Lecombe, does he pull out? Does he go for it? All the while, he's going for two. Dowds is going to push out wide. Murphy in this contact, and Dowds has spun around 3 cars into Lecombe. Does not end well. It's a 10-second penalty for Murphy, and it's a moment that takes Cameron Dowds out of the points.
I very much suspect that was just being too ballsy from the Mercedes there. Too ballsy there from Cameron Dowds. But I do have to say, I do very much feel that Joe Murphy will get that penalty removed. I think it's a pretty easy one there. But for Leo Lund, he's kind of gotten away from this in quite a nice way, hasn't he? He hasn't been knocked off track. He hasn't gotten any damage. And he's now, that's one less person to have to battle with.
Yeah, that's vital. And yeah, assuming that Murphy will get that penalty removed is what we're thinking up here in the box, as well as it's all getting very tight. Tom Roberts really closing in. Leo Lund closing into Joe Murphy, who is really struggling. Then we're about to go 3 wide very nearly into the bus stop chicane as they try and get on the brakes as well. That is going to be side by side heading down through the bus stop chicane. But for Murphy, it's a different goal this year, considering he is a driver who is competing as a reserve. So he won't definitely be going for the championship, but he'll just want good results when he participates. As Roberts looks down the outside, will rejoin, and then will be next to Wojtek Steg, who didn't get the best of exits, to be fair, and that will leave him vulnerable to JST directly in behind.
JST, we've got to talk about him. He's just been creeping up to this pack, hasn't he? This group of cars. He's been closing up, and he is slightly dragging Van Erven with him at the same time. But the main risk for the 3 of Joe Murphy, Leo Lund, Tom Roberts is that at this point, as Cameron Dowds now retires in the pit lane after that audacious move, shall we say, is that if Matthias gets within a second and Pepe gets within a second as well, they've got a lot more drivers catching on to this battle for the podium.
Yeah, and if it is getting feisty, and if they are all slowing each other up, then that list could continue to that list could continue to grow, as well as all the while as Van Erven thinking about the dive bomb in the background on JST, who, as you mentioned, has just really been sitting there, and loads of these drivers have been sitting there. Now they're all closing, and now they will play a part in this battle for second place. May not be a battle for the win. It's 7.2 seconds. It's going to be interesting to see the gap by the end of this, because it's going to 100% be a brawl between these drivers. So it will be interesting to see the gap. But in terms of, for the rest of the field from second downwards, it's going to be an absolutely mammoth fight. It's going to be great to watch, and it's going to be very entertaining as we arrive down into the bus stop chicane.
Tom Roberts was looking for a bit of a move on Leo Lund there. We've seen Leo Lund. He's made a mistake or two, hasn't he? He's had a couple of struggles. Whoa! For a second, I thought Tom Roberts was going for a move there. But Leo Lund making a little move to the right. Making sure no dive bombs are happening into turn 1. But I do have to say, Leo Lund is controlling his position at the moment. But the big question is that we saw with, for instance, Cameron Dowds. He had a bit of a struggle to hold back Cameron Dowds. Is he going to have the same problem with the Alpine of Tom Roberts and possibly the rest of the field closing in behind?
Definitely could be. And if you don't have a major pace advantage and the rest of the field are able to stick with you, with the DRS, you're naturally just going to be under pressure quite a few times. It is always just going to be the case as it's getting very feisty further back, and it's into the wall for Joel, who I mentioned was a winner around the circuit, and the safety car is going to be out. Well, Rapas's gap is going to be cut down, and Joel causes the safety car and blows the race wide open.
Do you think they're going to change the soft tyres? I have a big feeling that they are going to change to the soft tyres for the final few laps. They'll have to, because staying out on the hard tyres is too much of a risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Surely they will need to. But that was at Malmedy where the Racing Bulls went round. But yeah, surely there will be pit stops for the... it will surely be the pit stops for the soft compound of tyres, and it will be a full sprint to the end in this race. And yeah, we're not going to be able to see Rapas's gap come the end. But once again, he's going to give himself a good opportunity. Remember, there won't be DRS immediately after the safety car, so he's going to give himself a good chance to pull away anyway. He'll be the driver to lead us into the pit lane, and I'm sure everyone will follow. If not, I'm sure maybe someone could gamble and stick it out there, but you are going to find yourself as an absolute sitting duck, so the majority will surely be coming in.
Yeah, very much. You can see pretty much everyone's on their way in. And look at that, before they even get onto before they even reach any of their pit boxes, they already, Luca Rapassa's away and gone. That's how much of a lead he had there, which just shows how incredibly strong he was. There is somebody who stayed out. I think that is Lucas Bejner, who's decided to stay out. Yes, it is. And look at that. Look at the way he's climbing up the order. Up to P2 he goes. And nobody else, just one driver staying out, and that is the Sauber, who is in P3.
Yeah, and we're on to... So, we've got loads going on the softs, we've got a few mediums, and then we've got Leo Lund on the hards as well. So, it's quite... Yeah, it's quite strange, I think it is the way to put it. But, yeah, we have Lucas. That's exactly what I mentioned. You may get one or two drivers who just wants to go out there and not pit if you were already running outside the points and just want to hope that there's absolute drama and you can somehow scrape a point or two. But other than that, it has to be everyone in, or you're going to be losing positions at will, basically, come the actual restart.
Very true there. Very true. You're just, at the moment, you are just speaking complete facts to me at the moment. But, I have to say, Leo Lund, we've got to talk about this guy's mentality going on to the hard tyres. Does he feel that tyre wear is too high on the softs? Possibly punctures? But I don't know, because we haven't really seen the softs run in this race, have we? Or this weekend. So I wouldn't be surprised if the soft tyres go off really quickly, but it depends. Does the safety car go in this lap or next lap?
Yep, of course it has to be out for 2 laps minimum, and then it will come in if everyone has closed in, which everyone is about to do as well. But yeah, this is going to be quite dramatic. This is going to be quite chaotic. I wonder if any of the drivers who possibly didn't select softs, maybe even when they, of course, have to select different tyres. Some people had hards, mediums. Maybe we could see someone possibly come in to make a pit stop and go on to the set of the soft compound of tyres, because yeah, they're going to be losing out quite a bit. They will be losing out quite a bit. So let's see if anyone else does dive it in. But let's see how this one's gonna go. It's right now the calm before the storm, because it's gonna be absolutely wild come this restart. Leo Lund is gonna continue round again.
Okay, so for Luca Rapassa, he's gonna have just a 3-lap sprint. So in this case, do you feel like this is kind of going to be quite a straightforward win for him? You know, especially with Leo Lund on those hard tyres and Lucas Bejner on old tyres as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting between them. It's gonna be very interesting. Okay, a few more coming in then. You have Kedden, and then you have Brooker, and also Thomas Kokeni also coming in. They'll get that fresher set of soft compound of tyres, but it will be a restart where you can't sit back, because if you do decide to sit back and see how the restart goes, you are going to get dive bombed left and right. You're going to be getting absolutely mugged. So you have to basically kind of change your approach. Even if you are a little bit of a calmer driver, you've got to change your approach for this type of restart, because if you do be too kind to the rivals, to your rivals, then you can get overtaken, you can get bullied off the road. So it's important to sometimes just get your elbows out in these type of situations. Of course, keep it clean, but it is very vital that you are making sure that you are the one going forward. But at the same time, try and avoid all of the chaos, because there can sometimes be on a restart like this, cars that go round, cars that are spinning, and cars that make contact, like we saw as well in a similar fashion to what happened to Joel a few moments ago, which is why we are behind the safety car.
The big thing here, though, is when will Luca Rapassa go? Is he going to go before the bus stop chicane, the final 2 corners, or is he going to go midway through or afterwards? Because I've seen all 3 done by drivers, but I've never really seen, it's not often you see midway through the chicane, as the safety car is in this lap, and we will be having a 3-lap sprint to the end of this race. Luca Rapassa can go whenever he feels like. But as I was saying, when do you feel like Luca Rapassa might go?
You are kind of improvising with it at times. You can get a base idea, but you have to kind of react when, let's say, if Leo Lund finds himself in a position where he can't stand on the power. You are assessing the situation. You kind of have to react ASAP to try catch your rival out. It's basically you're keeping an eye behind to see what's going on and then see which is the possible moment to try and pounce.
And you can see Leo Lund is right there and making his intentions very clear. When is Luca Rapassa going to go? He's going now, and he's actually just gone right before the bus stop chicane, and that is a getaway he needed.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was mentioning. He's got a 7/10 advantage, which that is a good distance to have, as Tom Roberts sends it round the outside later on the brakes, and that is going to be a move that he's going to complete, a move that we expected, of course, with that tyre, but it was still brave stuff to go so deep on the brakes, because what it could have done, it could have backfired, and it could have left him vulnerable to Wojciech Stegel or some other drivers had he gone too wide.
Very much, but that is a perfect move for Tom Roberts, and that podium is looking more and more like it is in the bag for the Alpine driver here tonight. And maybe a championship push. Larry Tolke trying to make his way past Matthias Van Erven. Ooh, some contact, and off into the gravel goes Larry Tolke. We almost just had another moment of a Joel. Ooh, and again, another driver, that's Ryan Grob down the inside. Contact everywhere, chaos happening everywhere. Dennis Langrock, oh, and that is Larry Tolke taking a half spin, and the soft runners making their way past.
Indeed. Rapassa's got a gap to Leo Lund on those hard compound off tyres, and that is kind of what we expected come this type of situation. And now it's about Tom Roberts trying to pounce, trying to capitalise. JSD's waiting for his moment to try and get through, but this is what's going to create the gaps. Lucas on those hard compound of tyres, and even Matthias Van Erven on that, even if it's 2-lap hards. It will be just a car that is so much slower than the grip that you've got available to you, and it means it is creating gaps between all of the drivers.
And those JSTs made an incredible move before the bus stop chicane, and that's a great move up to P5 and a big points haul for himself. And to be honest, if I was him, I wouldn't be too disappointed. Luca Rapassa now taking the fast lap. There goes Pepe Marte past Dennis Langrock, who's dropping through the order quite heavily. So he's battling further behind, and whoa, a bit of contact between Pepe Marti and Dennis Langrock. Again, almost going 3 wide. We're having a couple of very scary moments between drivers where they're going a couple of cars wide, like we saw earlier through El Rouge and Rallion. It just looks like Pepe Marti is struggling on his tyres, because you see he's really holding up these guys. But look at this, over P2, Tom Roberts makes his way past Leo Lund. Larry Tolke's had a bit of a moment further back, and that is a move up into P2, and now chasing the race leader for Tom Roberts.
Yep, he's going to go for it. He's going to go on the attack and see whether there's any chance, whether there's any opportunity, but Rapassa's not that type of driver to make a mistake, but Roberts will give it his all to see if he can manage to get inside the 1 second. But considering we're on the penultimate lap, we're already halfway through said lap, it's going to mean that it's going to be difficult, and it's going to be a gap that will just continue to extend with the pace that Rapassa has. But still, positives can be taken for the driver of Tom Roberts, considering He wasn't participating in the last race at Spain, and it was only an 8th place in our season opening round at Australia. So it'll be a first podium of the season, and that is always what a driver's aiming for, just trying to improve on what you did last race.
Very much. And that is perfect. I mean, this dominance is crazy from Luca Rapassa, though. This is, I've got to say, one of the best starts to a season I've ever seen in WOR from any driver. It is incredible.
Yeah, it is, and I'm sure, and it has been quite dramatic still, this championship, which we've had a dominant driver, but it's still been so highly competitive, and you just have to give credit to Rapassa with how he's able to come in, week out, and do it as we're side by side in the battle for second place, and Leo Lund fighting a way through. Roberts wants that maiden podium, but wants to get it in second position. He's having to use the battery as he tries to get through. He's getting squeezed, and he's on the grass, and he's in the wall. He's in the wall. It will not be a maiden podium. That's such a big shame for Roberts.
There's Florian and Joe as well. 4 retire. Is that 3? 3 retirements. 3 retirements down the Kemmel Straight on the final lap. That has put JST on the podium, by the way. Holy, what has happened there? Ryan Grubb gets a 10-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags. That's really going to hurt him. But holy, we're going to have to look back at that, aren't we? We're going to have to see if we can get any just crazy clips. That was just, I don't know what happened there between Joe Murphy and Florian.
I was personally on board at the time with Roberts, so yeah, I didn't see what happened behind, but Leo Lund absolutely squeezing Roberts as they went and made their way through down the Kemmel Straight, and it ended in the wall for those two. But yeah, further drama behind, so it wasn't just a simple ending, there was lots still left here on this final lap.
And now we look to Luca Rapassa, the man of dominance out of the first 2 races. He might have not won last week, but he's going to make up for that in Belgium by winning in WR PC Tier 2, round number 3 here at Spa-Francorchamps in season number 21. And that is Booker T that's gone round. He slowly finds his way to reverse. And that is a brilliant victory for the man in that Red Bull suit.
Yep, great win. Deserving win. And when everyone else is having issues like that behind, then it's just perfect to try and extend your championship advantage. This is just brilliant stuff from Rapassa. And that is why you want to be out of trouble, because you can find yourself getting in that type of mess where we saw down the Kemmel Straight. So it's quite handy if you've got such an advantage where you can just drive off in the distance and let everything happen behind you.
Very much, and it's just such an incredible... That is such, I think, the most chaotic end I've had to a race on F125 so far, I've got to say. But it is just... That was just crazy. But let's quickly go through the grid order at the end of the race. Luca Rapassa wins from 3rd on the grid. Then it is Wojciech staying in 2nd. Then JST, Leo Lund, Matthias van Erven, then Pepe Marti, Dennis Langrock, Lucas Beijner, Ryan Modler, and to end up the top 10, Tomasz Kokkeny with a great race. Keaton Lutt in 11th, Larry Tolke 12th, Ryan Grob, then Booker T, then Tom Roberts, then Joe Murphy, Florian, Joel, Cameron Dowds, and, oh, of course, the man in last, who I sadly just missed. But an incredible end to that race. And what do you think about that race all round?
Dramatic, I think is the only way to sum it up. That was wild stuff. Also, well, I mean, these drivers are doing quite a handy job for the social media team of WR. We are getting quite the promotion going for Tier 2 every single week, with the leaders colliding twice to start the season, and now another thing to post about. So we're definitely keeping the social media team quite busy here at WR with all of the drama, and that's what we mean. When I mentioned how chaotic the season's been, it has exactly been like that, and I'm sure Corey is going to have quite the chaos to come back to next round as well.
Yeah, let's bring in our podium placing drivers for an interview. If you could be lovely and give them a ping for me, because we'll move to the interview screen as we get ready for some brilliant interviews with some generally brilliant drivers.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
And we've got Passer already waiting, so I'll bring him in.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, Luca. Welcome to the interview box. Congratulations on another win this season. How does it feel after such a quite exhilarating and chaotic race?
Well, I was quite relaxed first part of the race, just chilling in P1, just tire saving. Then I had a lot of tires left, controlling the pace, so we went for the overcut. And then I just noticed Joe was slow and I could gap him, so that's what I did. Then I just drove away. Some weird stuff happened behind me. I had like a 9-second, 8-second gap or something like that. Then of course the safety car came out, a bit soft, the Uppbeat too hard. So from that point I knew I could just drive away. And then yeah, a crash on the Camel Straights, fairly interesting.
How was it towards the end, that safety car? How did you sort of feel about that safety car right at the end as you were leading by such a massive amount? Did it feel like it was sort of a bit of a waste to grow that sort of lead to lose it all? Or do you think in the end it really helped you when it came down to your strategy and your race right after the safety car for those final 3 laps?
Of course, I was very disappointed. I was just chilling at the front for the safety car, just not really pushing. I was on full battery, just relaxed. But then the safety car came. I saw Leo pit too hard, and then I just went for it on the first lap, gapped him by quite a lot, and then yeah, that was basically my race. It was quite relaxed, I would say, apart from the moment the safety car came out.
So, Omi, do you have any questions for our race winner?
Oh, Rapassa, you've looked very good this season with 2 wins and a 2nd place as well. I'd love to know, is there any rounds which you are specifically looking forward to, or is there any you think that you might be struggling at? We go to the states next time out in Texas for round 4, then it's Monaco in round 5, and then it's Azerbaijan, Silverstone, Imola, Japan, and Abu Dhabi.
Well, Kota is quite decent. Then Monaco I had EOR, so I was fairly happy with that one. Then Baku, I've never really liked Baku, so I would say that's the only race where I'm like, that might be not a great one for me. But the rest, I'm quite happy with.
Well, perfect stuff. It will be exciting to see how you get on in the races.
Good luck, Luca,
Thank you.
for the rest of the season, and we'll probably be having more interviews like this with you.
Hopefully every week.
See you around. Thank you for joining us.
Have a good night.
So, with that, have we got anyone else?
Doesn't appear like I'm sure it was quite chaotic behind, so everyone else is having to definitely discuss a lot about what took place in the chat, so maybe not ready to speak with us, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of very angry people as well to add on to that. But very, very interesting race. So we'll just go back to use graphic. But with that, who was your driver of the day?
Oh well, I mean, luckily I'm only reserving today, so I can get away with saying Rapassa, because I'm not saying I won't be here to say it every week, but so that's the easy answer. But it's Corey and the others who are doing the season with him that are going to have to get quite inventive with the thinking, because you can't just say the same driver every week. But luckily I can take the escape route with it only being a one-off for me this season.
Same for me. So, to be honest, I will say Luca Rapassa, just the lead that he built was just next level, to be honest. you know, you do not expect that in Tier 2, do you? You expect incredibly close racing, and then you've just got Luca Rapassa leading by 7-8 seconds, you know, out in front, which is incredible, you know, compared to how the rest of the grid was all bunched up, you know, from second down to like sort of 12th. Then to see, it is a bit crazy, isn't it? But in the end, with that is the end of tonight's stream, unless anybody wants to join for an interview. But in the end, thank you everyone for watching. It has been absolutely brilliant to see Tier 2 action. Any last words, Omi, that is not me particularly being threatening to you in any sort of way?
Well, I guess the last words can be, you guys have, even if it might be a bit of a Rapassa show at times, you guys have some season, and each of them have featured a dramatic moment that the social media team are going to have to tweet about in a few moments' time. So you've had some dramatic moments this season, and I'm sure you will continue to have it as well. So I hope you all enjoy the remainder of this season.
To be honest, you couldn't have said it any better, but I echo that message. Ultimately, guys, thank you so much. Please think about subscribing, leaving a like on the stream, and also click on that notification bell to know about all of the content we do here at WOR, from PC to console to absolutely anything. Make sure to do that. Also, massive thanks to our sponsors of Gridfinder and Next Level Racing. And also, make sure to go and check out WOR on all of our social media platforms of TikTok, as you can see, right above me. And then in the middle between me and Omi on X as well, at WOR League. And of course, World Online Racing F1 on TikTok. And of course, you've got the YouTube there, right above Omi, for where you're watching this. But in the end, thank you guys so much. I hope you have an absolutely brilliant week. And goodbye.